All right, now we're going to look at how to construct a network diagram, okay? So when you're constructing a network diagram, remember, you're doing a complicated project which is based on smaller subtasks. And so when you have a network diagram to complete, you'll usually have a table that shows the smaller tasks that you need to be done and how long they take and what needs to be done before each other task can be done. I put this one together. This is for the project, a bit silly really, of cooking spaghetti bolognese. And I've broken this up into smaller tasks, which is to say do things like boil the water, or heat the oil, or chop the veggies, or grate the cheese, all the things you need to make a good spag bowl. And so what you'll see is that each activity will be labeled, usually by a number or a lettering system, so A, B, C, or D. You'll get the description of what that task is, and it'll also have this preceded by column, which tells you which other tasks have to be completed before you can start that task. So for example, you can't cook the pasta until task A, boiling the water, is complete. And then finally you'll have a column that says the duration, which says how long that task will take. And in this case, because it's making a meal, we'll say that this is sort of, it takes minutes to do these different tasks. So to draw this diagram, what you start with is you start with a point in time, which is a node. So you draw a circle, and you say, here's our starting point. What can we do to begin? All right? We look at the table, and we say A, B, C, and D. We can just crack on, start doing them. So from this node, working from left to right, from the right side of the node, we can start to draw some tasks. A, B, C, and D. So I'll label them now, A, B, C, and D, and I'll put the duration under each one as well. That helps us to keep track of things, and that's the convention for when we are drawing this out. Now notice that I've kept them very much open-ended for the time being, and that's the way that I recommend that you do these, because we're working from left to right, and we will only draw nodes once we have a new task for which we know other tasks must be completed before we can begin that task. It'll be a bit easier if I just sort of crack on and explain. So we've done tasks A, B, C, and D. They're now represented in the diagram. Task E is dependent on task A. So I look at the diagram and I say, I need to have a moment in time in which task A is completed so I can begin task E. So I draw another node here, and that's when I sort out A. I say, right, A has to be completed, and there's a moment in time at which that's happened. Now I can start to work on task E, and task E takes 10 minutes. I'm now looking down the list. I see task F, which is dependent on task E. Another moment in time at which task E is getting completed, and I can start with task F. So I draw another node to represent that point in time, and I can now begin task F. Notice how I don't worry about these other tasks yet, and I'm not concerned about getting them plugged into a node until I've represented a task which needs them to be completed. So task F is now done, and task F takes 1 minute. I now look down the list. Task G is dependent on tasks B and C being completed. B is here, C is here, so I need to have a moment in time at which point B and C are both completed. So I draw a node here, and to represent that B and C are both completed, I say B connects in and C connects in. Once I've done that, I can work on task G, and task G takes 3 minutes. Working down the list, task H is dependent on task G. So I say I need a moment in time where G is completed. Draw a new node. Task H is coming off of there. And task H takes 5 minutes. And then I look down the list again. Task I is dependent on task H. So I have a new moment in time at which task H is completed. And I'm now working on task I. Notice as well that F has been hanging there without a node connecting on the right side. It's perfectly fine. D has been hanging there the entire time. I'm not worried about those until I find a task which is dependent on them. Right, so I now takes me 10 minutes. And I look to my last task, task J. Task J, which which is to dish and plate all of these lovely things that I've cooked, and it is dependent on D, F, and I. So I need to have a moment in time at which D, F, and I are all completed. So I just draw another node. Say here, D is completed in this node. So I finally now hook up task D with this node. F is completed. So I hook up task F with this node. And I is completed. So now I hook up task I with this node here. And when that point in time has happened, then I can work on task J, which is my last task, which is to dish everything onto the plate. And then once you've got to the last task, and everything is hooked up by convention, you draw a node at the very end to say that everything has been completed. And this is the complete path. Well, now, in our next video, we're going to look at how to enter in the earliest start times and latest finish times for each one of those nodes.